call this meeting of the Board of Education for the School District of Baraboo to order for Monday, July the 14th, 2014. With roll call, Mr. Cummings.
Here.
Dave Nevin.
Here.
Mr. Newman is not with us tonight. Mr. Mortimer.
Here.
Ms. Riley.
Here.
Mr. Pedro.
Present.
Bodak here. Continue with the pledge. Flag by the mock.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of the last meeting, June 23rd.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Riley, second by discussion. Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
I will
Those opposed?
I will abstain.
Okay, note the abstention of Mr. Bedrow. Minutes thus approved. Brings us to the portion of the agenda entitled correspondence, of which I have none. Any other administrative correspondence?
I have one letter that I received from the University of Wisconsin-Madison acknowledging the work of Kelly Williams, who's a teacher at East School, for being part of a group, Literacy Advisory Committee, that met this summer. They had to spend considerable time reading books that were on the consideration list and then coming prepared to talk about those to be selected for part of Read on Wisconsin. And they go on to just talk about the importance of teachers, librarians, parents, and children being involved in this process, and want to acknowledge her contributions to that. So, and Kelly Williams, by the way, is a classroom teacher, but she also has a media certification.
Anything else? Hearing no additional correspondence, brings us to public viewpoints. Is there anyone here for public viewpoints tonight? Any public viewpoints tonight? Any public viewpoints tonight? Hearing none, let's move on to student and staff recognition, which we have a video tonight.
We do. So as Danny's getting it ready, I just want to thank her for all the work she has done putting this video together, and we shared this with the whole staff the last day we were all together. And it's the story of recognizing our students and staff through pictures from the 13-14 school year. And I think even though that seems like a distant past already as we're moving forward, it's a good time to pause and reflect about why we come together and make the decisions that we do and the impact and benefits that has for our students and staff.
Every time I look in the mirror, all these lines on my face get clearer. The past is gone, and when back in time, dust to dust. Isn't that the way? Everybody's got the do's and half my life since books with different pages, living learn from fools and from sages. You know it's true. boys are gonna sell what tomorrow means. Sing it out, good before the kill what tomorrow will bring. You've got to make a choice if the music drives you away. And raise your voice every single time they try and shut your mouth. Sing it for the boys, sing it for the girls. Every time that you lose it, sing it for the world. Sing it from the heart, sing it till you know. Sing it out for the ones that hate your guts. Sing it for the doubt, sing it for the blind. Sing about everyone that you left behind. Sing it for the world, sing it for the world. Cleaned up corporation pride, left dying in the wild. That's the children that don't talk about it, living on the railway. Moving sideways, sell it till your last day. Buy yourself a motivation, generation high. Feeling nothing but a dancing, running down the white tree. I am not the singer that you wanted, but a dancer. Here's the answer. Talk about the past, running for the ones who wanna get away. Keep running. Sing it for the boys, sing it for the girls. Every time that you lose it, sing it for the world. Sing it for the heart, sing it till you know. Sing it out for the ones that hate your guts. Sing it for the doubt, sing it for the blind. Sing about everyone that you left behind. Sing it for the world, sing it for the world. Got to sing what tomorrow brings. Sing it for the world, sing it for the world. Yeah, you got to be what tomorrow needs. Sing it for the world, sing it for the world.
So lots to be proud of as we move forward.
Thank you. Brings us to reports, referendum projects, and proceeds update.
Dan and I met with CGS and EUA in Madison on July 9th, and we went over the project scope and schedule again. We keep updating that and making it more and more refined. And the majority of our meeting was reviewing the budget estimates and looking at the different pieces of, or areas of projects that are slated for next summer, and making sure that we're within the budgeted amount that was borrowed. We are planning on having representatives here at the August 11th board meeting, and they will provide a more specific update to the board on where we're at in the process, as well as we'll be looking at the contracts that we have with them at that time as well. Dan, is there anything that you want to share about our meeting or update?
No, I think overall they're right where they planned on being. If you look at the timeline and schedule that they shared earlier, the surveying is going to be done probably by the end of this week. Other than fine tuning where the budget is, making sure that we're within our numbers, they're right where we're supposed to be. They're expecting the bids to go out. Their design work is on schedule, so everything is where it's supposed to be.
And Jeff will be joining us for future meetings. In fact, we have one scheduled before the next board meeting, but he's been very busy with the budget. That's been the priority. So, does the board have any questions about where we're at right now with that? Otherwise, we'll segue right into the proceeds, referendum proceeds.
I'm passing out a sheet. You previously received a portfolio report in your board packet, and one line has been updated, so that's why I'm giving you a new sheet. We actually invested some dollars. I believe it went in today, so that's why you're getting this new sheet on short notice. So basically, this document represents where we are taking the bond proceeds and where we are depositing them, different investments that we've looked at. So we've invested close to 9.8 million. That's a little bit less than the 9.95 that the referendum was, and that's due to the fact that we've already spent down some dollars on legal services and some architectural fees that we've incurred. So we've taken the dollars and we've short-term invested them. You can tell across numerous different savings vehicles. We've put dollars into CDs, mainly CDs, and some money markets. So originally when we decided to put these dollars into these investment options, we opened for bids and we started locally. 5 local banks did come in and provide us with, or we opened it up to 5 local banks, only 2 decided to make a bid to us. The 5 that we put it out to were Wells Fargo, Community First, River Cities, Baraboo National, and BMO Harris. BMO Harris, Baraboo National, and River Cities decided not to place a bid. River Cities basically decided not to place a bid because they're already holding our 2.5 million non-referendum debt, and they didn't want to take on additional dollars with us at this time. They did say once we pay down that 2.5 million, they may be interested if we do some reinvesting and taking some of those dollars at a future date. So we ended up Community First and Wells Fargo. Those were our local options. We went with Community First, and we did place $3 million with them in a 1-year CD. You can see that about halfway down the page. The 1.2 million number and the 1.7 million, that's with Community First Bank, and the rate that we'll get with them is listed over on the right side. One of them is going to be at 0.2 and one of them is going to be at 0.3. Wells Fargo did come in and place an offer to us, did bid a rate. However, they were not willing to work with PMA, who is managing this bond investment for us. And we really need PMA to be a part of this for us in terms of our reporting and in terms of our collateral management. It was going to have a very negative effect if they were not included within this issuance. So we decided to disregard the bid from Wells Fargo, and instead we invested a fairly large portion of dollars with Citibank, and that is the dollar amount that's listed first on your sheet. It says savings deposit account Citibank, that 2.4 million. There is not a rate listed. I just want to make mention of this. There's not a rate listed because it is a variable rate, so they didn't want to put the rate down there. So it may change. Right now we're at 0.17 for that liquid account, which is actually a little bit higher than Wells Fargo was going to give us. So we ended up getting a little bit higher rate by going with them over Wells Fargo. The rest of our dollars, if you look down the rest of this sheet, those are all placed in CDs, and we kept them all under $250,000 to make sure that they had FDIC insurance protecting them. So if you look at the overall bottom line down towards about the middle of the page where it says total amount, it shows that we have an original cost of about $9.78 million, and we have a maturity value of about $9.79 million. So we're going to earn just under 20 grand in interest and in our maturity value. That also does not include the variable rate that we're getting with Citibank. Once we do get that, it'll push it up over 20 grand. I think about 22,000 in earnings. So that's kind of how we laid it out and where we placed our dollars. So like I said, all the investments are fully insured by FDIC insurance except for our dollars with Community First and with Citibank. Citibank is collateralized with pledged securities, and Community First has a letter of credit with another financial institution. So that's how we're backing up our investments. PMA, who is managing this bond issuance for us, they're going to continuously monitor the collateral for us and provide us with updates, and we'll be discussing that monthly with the Finance Committee. So that's where we're at with regards to the investment of our bond proceeds.
What is the term for the Citibank? Is it a term?
With Citibank, it's basically a liquid money market,
Okay.
is what I would call it, yeah.
Okay.
We had to review the draw schedule pretty closely to make sure that we didn't have funds tied up where we wouldn't be able to,
Right.
to pay. If
Yeah,
you look
that-
at that-
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
If you look at the bottom left-hand corner, that graph that you see, basically our drawdown schedule, that when our CDs mature matches our draw schedule. So when we'll be spending dollars for the project. So that's what PMA really helped us to do, was to align that and make sure we left our dollars invested as long as we possibly could to get as much interest as we possibly can. Obviously, rates are low. We're not earning a ton of interest on that, but that's just the nature of the financial market right now.
At any time, they can produce a report for us on any given day if we request it. We've asked for the timing of at least a monthly report so that, again, we can discuss that with Finance Committee, and there are options that are open to us as we move through this process, but you get the best rates, obviously, for the closer you get to a year and out.
And there was a huge jump. Once you hit that year mark, there was a huge jump up, so.
And I was looking at before,
Yeah.
where, I don't know if this is a stupid question, I don't say China. Where's the Bank of China at?
I actually asked that question because I want to know that. It's a New York bank.
Oh, okay.
Did you get like 17 free toasters by opening up all these accounts? He's probably too young, he doesn't remember those days.
No, I don't. I'm thinking TV Lenny, get a bike from America.
Same concept.
So East Asia would be the same thing like in New York?
I would assume so. I'm not sure on that one. The one I specifically asked about was Bank of China. Where is that? And it's in New York.
They're all,
so.
they're all in the country.
And the big thing why we spread this out so far was to keep it under $250,000 to have that FDIC insurance. So.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jeff, for the update.
Yep.
There were actually two documents, right? And,
Yeah, the other document.
The other one is more of what the statements will look like that we will receive.
So if any board members want further information, they can certainly contact you guys.
Absolutely. Contact me with any questions you have.
Okay, thank you again. Personnel recommendations, we have 2 resignations to deal with. First is Michelle Edminster
Oh,
from...
wait a minute, you skipped the budget update.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Is that important?
It might be a little bit.
I guess I thought maybe this was part of the budget
No.
update. Sorry about that.
It's short, it's
2014-15
not long.
2014-15 budget update. I'll pass the sheet out.
Well, most of your part goes that
Is
fast.
there a font that's smaller than this you
This
could have
is
used?
No.
the best you can.
Seriously.
I wanted to make it hard on you guys.
Apparently you weren't thinking about me. You know, just-
I'm thinking he was.
Can't argue with can't see.
Is there a board magnifying glass?
Put it up on that.
We all need them.
This is the reason it's so small. That's the size I had to get it into to submit it to the paper. So I apologize for that.
Can you email it to us, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll help.
It was also in the paper today, too. For the short time I've been here, I've been reviewing the budget accounts from 13-14. I've been working with Mike Clark from Robert W. Baird to get me up to speed on our budget and the forecast model that we've been using to project out into 14-15. So the document you're seeing, that's where we're at in terms of the audited 12-13 numbers, the unaudited 13-14 numbers in the proposed 14-15 budget. The 13-14 numbers in the proposed 14-15 are obviously subject to change once we're closing out our books and taking a closer look at our proposed budget for next year. Official notices have been posted, so that's what you're seeing right there. That was the notice that I submitted to the paper posting the budget hearing and the annual meeting. 2 weeks from now. I've begun preparation for the annual meeting. I'll be working closely with Sean and the rest of the finance committee to come up with a plan for the annual meeting and how we want to handle that night. I did receive the estimate for state aid. Those aid numbers come out from the state on July 1st. And we received a state aid estimate of about $550,000 more than we did last year, primarily due to increasing enrollment and a bit of a dip in our property valuation for the community. So that number went up, and that should have a positive effect on our tax levy. And with the referendum borrowing going into effect this year, that will help to offset that levy amount, that levy increase that the community would see from the referendum. So again, just like with the bond proceeds, if you have any questions on the budget for 14-15, don't hesitate to contact me. I'm happy to talk about anything that you want to discuss.
Thank you for hitting the ground running.
No problem.
Yes, he did.
Does the board have any questions? Hearing none. Move to the personnel recommendations, the first of which is the approval of the 2 resignations. We take them together. Michelle Edminster from GLW Kindergarten and Chelsea Thill from the BELC 4-year-old kindergarten program.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Cummings, seconded by Mortimer. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resignations thus approved. Before we get to the approval of the new hires, we do have a name, and I think in front of all board members was the information in regards to the reading specialist position, and that is Karen Exo.
Did you get this? I've got a couple extra.
And when we get to the 5th one, do we want to do these individually, or can we take them as 1 through 4?
Did you guys get a copy down there?
We got a copy to share.
There's an
They just
extra
didn't get
here.
passed down.
Right.
had one before.
That was, yeah, that's.
Move
that
to
one.
approve the slate.
You have one?
Um,
Yep.
Move to approve 1 through 4?
Yeah.
Okay. And seconded by Mr. Bedrow. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I would entertain a motion to table the high school FCE teacher position.
Just-
Dr. Ritzenthaler?
Just a quick update on that, hot off the press here.
Yeah.
We did offer the position to a candidate. We had one candidate, I believe, and that person took the position with another school district. We have since had another new application, one application for the position, and so interviews will be held later this week. So that's where we're at with that process.
Motion to table?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Bedrow, seconded by Riley. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hopefully deal with it at on the 28th. We have 2 approval of long-term substitute positions. The first is West Kindergarten, June Sturgis. The second is East First Grade, Virginia Daly. Entertain a motion for those approval of the 2 long-term substitutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Bedrow, seconded by McNevin. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to new business. For the approval of the disbursements, I turn to Finance Chair, Mr. McNevin.
Move to approve. Second.
Having a motion by McNevin, seconded by Cummings. Any further discussion?
A question came up prior to the meeting about one of the expenditures. It was $70,000 for open enrollment out to Sauk City. And Danny, do you want to give a quick?
That is for a base tuition amount for special education students. Normally what happens for non-special education students, the state categorical aid for the base tuition amount, which this year was $64.85, is automatically transferred between districts. They don't do that for special education students, so we have to bill each other for students going in, coming out for that base tuition amount. So that amount indicated is for 12 students open enrolled out to the Sauk Prairie School District.
Can you expound on that process a little bit more? Because obviously kids have different needs and different costs essentially to meet those needs. And sometimes those costs can be quite large. And districts do they have the right to, when you bill out, do they have the right to say, wait a minute, we can provide those services back here and not pay those?
As
Or-
part of the application process, what happens is once the open enrollment window closes in April, districts exchange. So let's say, for example, we have a student, a special education student going out to, let's say, Sauk, for example. We exchange documents. Sauk would request a copy of the IEP, and then they would provide us with an estimated cost for providing those special education services. I then review those costs, and what we have to do is we have to determine whether or not those costs are considered excess in lieu of our total budget. We can't just look at a cost per student. So out of our $30+ million budget, is this particular cost deemed accessible? And guidance from the Department of Public Instruction has said that it's pretty difficult to make that claim when you look at in the context of your entire budget. And so some costs can be pretty high. For example, we had a student open enrolled in from another district this year, and we billed that district over, believe it was about $27,000 for transportation that we were able to bill that district for that particular student. And so then what happens is the state determines a base tuition amount for every student. This last year it was $6,485. And so for non-special education students, that money is automatically transferred between districts. For special education students, it's not. So we have to bill for that base tuition amount in addition for any excess special education costs. So the budget item that there was a question about, that's just the base tuition amount. There was no special education cost within that. And that was for 12 students going out of our district.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the transportation would only factor in if it's written into the IEP.
Correct, yep. We're only obligated to provide transportation for open enrolled students if it's in their IEPs.
Danny, do we have several year running trends of what we've brought in, what we've brought out in terms of special ed?
In terms of number of students or cost?
Costing.
I probably haven't pulled together it for cost specific, but that's something I certainly can do.
I mean, it would just be interesting to
Sure,
see.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, having a motion and a second, those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us to the pool trench drain bid. BG&T met earlier this evening. I will turn to Chair of BG&T, Mr. Cummings.
The bids were brought in Friday, I believe it was. We had the opening, we had 3 people bid, 2 were legal according to policy as far as on opening and sealed bids. They were Lamazdi Construction for $102,219 and Joe Daniels Construction for $129 and $129,180. His recommendation of the Buildings and Grounds Committee that we accept the bid from Lamazdi Construction for $102,219. And I also make that bid, that move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us to C, Baraboo Education Association, BEA. In your board packet, there was information in regards to revised individual contracts for specific teachers. Those involved modified assignments for AP classes, additional prep time, and overloads. Anybody have any questions on any of that as it was presented? Hearing none, I would thus entertain a motion for the approval of the individual contracts that were presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Secondly, motion carried. Secondly, the Personnel Committee finalized negotiations with the BEA, which would involve the ratification of the 2014-15 collective bargaining agreement, which is the base wage only. So the first motion I would entertain is for the base wage, which was for 1.46%. And I believe you had in your board packet, the appendix which shows what the base wages for everyone are for 2014-15. So I would thus entertain a motion for the portion covering the base wages.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by McNevin, seconded by Riley. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Then third on the list is the BEA supplemental pay, and that is also associated with the compensation matrix, which was in your board packet as well.
Move to approve.
Having a motion by McNevin, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Riley. Any discussion?
I have a question, Kevin. Now, the 2.52 overall increase, do you deduct the 1.46 from that to get the supplemental pay?
Yeah, that's all tied into this compensation matrix and where teachers are placed on here.
So the 1%, they get a 1% supplemental pay, basically?
Basically.
I want to send appreciation out to the BEA for their willingness to meet in regards to the matrix in particular, and the fact that they had to be the ones that presented it to their membership. And I know that wasn't an easy task. And just for information for the rest of the board, there certainly will be questions coming forward. It was made clear to the negotiating team from the BEA that if there were any questions, we do have a frequently asked question segment on the website, but there may be questions that come up from them in regards to how they fit on the matrix. We tried to address that, but
Well, just so the board understands, the base wage increase was evenly distributed among all the teachers, so that was 632. But the supplemental might be different depending on where people fell on here. So we wanted to guarantee a minimum amount, but there is a range for the initial year for placing people on here. So whenever you do that, there's always going to be a few people here or there where, you know, they don't receive as much as someone else. And we saw that after Act 10 when we had some changes as well. But, you know, Mo can talk to that too. She was the board rep on that committee, and I think the committee felt good about what we came up with in the end.
There was a lot of discussion. The committee had representatives from all the schools and different teachers in different departments, and so the discussion was lively, and it took a long time to come up with the matrix that everyone was happy with and that was clear and understandable. We looked at other school districts and what other boards have done, and we really wanted something that was easy to understand, but that also took into consideration the amount of work that we're asking teachers to do, the amount of education that they've put in, the opportunity to change grades or change where they fit on the matrix as they complete additional certifications. So although we wanted something that was clear and comprehensible, we were dealing with a very complicated and complex set of criteria. But in the long run, not only maybe not everyone was happy, but everyone felt that the matrix was as fair as it could be, honored the work that people have done in their careers, in their own education and in their PDPs, and where they will be able to go in the future. So,
I would also just add, this board has been very astute in identifying where there may have been outliners that got left out somehow, and we have always addressed those after the fact, to ensure the fact that nobody is unrepresented.
Any further questions? Having a motion and a second, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. There will be a communication that will be sent out, a joint communication from the Board of Education and the BEA to the membership, although it's in July, so I don't know that it's going to get a lot of traction.
We wanted to send out a short communication at least to let people know that more communication will be coming in the fall to help people understand the matrix. The communication prior to the communication.
It's the pre-communication stage.
Pre-communication.
Yeah.
Tell them what you're going to tell them.
It's ready to go,
Tell
ready
them.
to send it out.
Tell them what you told them.
So anyways, thank you to all involved in that process. And we did make a commitment to hopefully start a little sooner next year in negotiation, but we'll see if that holds true.
It's like hanging out with my kids.
Brings us to D, the approval of the policies, revisions. Mr. Nearing, who's the chair, isn't with us tonight. Ms. Riley has offered to stand up to the plate. I did want to make note of the fact that there are 3 policies that are new. The rest are revisions.
I did want to make note of the fact that I just made a motion to approve.
Well, we have a suggestion from a board member to add language to number 12, and it's just a sentence, but maybe we need to take that one separately if we're going to change it.
Of course, I believe that technically it's number 4 on the policy rule revisions.
I thought it was school visitors.
It is, I
Still
think it's the
waiting for a
rule though.
second.
Oh, I didn't
Can't be
know we were
discussing
changing the
until
rules.
in a second.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion to approve
We're gonna follow Robert's
the
rules.
revisions for the first reading. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And we now have a second. Is your motion thus to waive the reading of the first reading?
That was included in my motion.
Just wanted to make that clear.
we didn't hear that part. Shocking.
I said it. I just- Probably didn't say
Those in
that.
favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Keep in mind, we'll be doing this at the next board meeting as well. Now, how are we going to deal with?
Well, with the
12?
rule, maybe we'll just, I don't know if Ed or Craig want to talk about why we want to add that line.
Mr. Mortimer gave me a call earlier and had a good suggestion. With the visitor policy, it talks about how visitors need to, when they're going to a school building, need to sign in the office. And Mr. Mortimer and I were talking about how that is the expectations for employees as well, when an employee is outside of his or her own building. And so his suggestion was maybe we could put a line in the rule to articulate what the current expectation is. So the proposal would be to put in paragraph number 1 an additional sentence that reads, similarly, employees who enter a school other than the building where they are normally assigned must register at the school office, unquote. So that would be the proposal.
All employees.
Yes, employees are all employees with whatever the board prefers.
So if I understand that correctly, we have our working staff that are moving from building to building to do various kinds of projects or activities, and part of the process for them is, in addition to their ID cards being shown, they have to sign into the office. Has that been discussed with buildings and grounds? Has that been discussed with any of the
Oh,
other?
you mean in terms of the custodians?
Well, I mean, not just custodians, our maintenance workers who are working in one building and then called to come to another building.
That's a good.
I mean, I'm just thinking,
I guess, you know, in the event of an emergency or crisis, we'd like to know who's in the building to account for people. Realistically, you raise a very good point about custodians in and out, food service people, mail delivery.
Well, in the event of emergency, is that the first thing we grab is the sign-in, sign-out sheet? I mean, probably not.
No.
I mean, is it nice to know when we've got
But I mean,
staff in the building?
typically-
Yes, but, you know.
Yeah, typically, the professional staff will sign in other buildings and sign out as well.
Well, now Dave at the middle school the information I received from you-know-who, she said that when she leaves, if there's an emergency, she picks everything up that's off the counter, which includes the sign-in
Yep,
book, is that correct?
yes.
So then you should.
If the emergency happens during school hours when Joanne's
Right,
present.
right.
Yes.
If you made the what are we trying to cover? What are you making sure we cover?
Well, if the main thing, I guess, is if there's somebody, let's say Craig comes up there and he doesn't sign in. So let's say we have an emergency. Okay, then you have to account for every student, correct?
Mhm.
And so if there's nobody there if he doesn't sign in, he could get lost in the building, nobody know he was in there, and so nobody's gonna look for him. Maybe nobody cares. Then he'll be
A
one
little
person.
dramatic pause would allow all of us to chime in,
But basically for safety.
Could this be something that we talk about? We're having our annual safety review with district personnel and community to talk about what the normal protocol, because there may be other policies too that we want to take a look at. And that's coming up August 5th. I mean, maybe that would be one way to approach it.
Well, my concern would be you have them sign in. It's likewise just as important that they sign out.
Oh, absolutely.
Not sign in and tell everybody I'm in the building, but I'm leaving out the bottom door, so I'm not going back to the office. So it would require them to go back and sign out just as well as sign in.
Yes.
Aren't we moving toward the technology that identifies through place cards, our IDs, who's in the building, who's out of the building?
Only when
Certainly
you
the
come in.
technology is there to be able to track.
It's only coming in. You don't badge to get out.
We could insert a GPS tracker and everything.
There we are.
Oh, yeah, that'd be all right.
The microchip.
Right in the back of your neck.
I think it's a good idea to review at
I
the
think-
safety
because
committee.
we may not be looking at everything right
Right.
now, but
Yeah.
I think, Ed, you raised a good point about that in terms of security and safety of staff, so.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna spend $2 or $3 million out of this 9.9 million, to me, this is a safety issue also.
I agree.
And the more input from different people, I'm more than happy to have. That would just open the door.
Well, because it's a rule, it can be changed relatively easily.
We'll
anyway.
make sure that we have that.
So because that's informational only, I don't think the rule actually requires board action. Do we normally approve the rules? I forget.
No, that's necessary.
Well, I don't know. There isn't much left on the agenda after that.
Should we add a few things?
No, I'm just waiting for Sean.
Why are you waiting for me?
He thinks you'll move to adjourn now.
I thought we haven't called the roll on this yet.
Oh, we didn't?
Huh?
Somebody must want to be out of here.
No.
I wasn't
enjoy my
referring to
time
you.
spent
I wasn't
here.
referring to you, Mr.
So Sean,
Okay, so we had a motion and we had, by
Second.
Riley and seconded by McNevin. Oh, no, a motion by McNevin, seconded by Riley to
Yes.
waive the first reading. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Move to adjourn.
opposed. You can't overlap a motion.
Move to adjourn.
no second.
Oh, I would have let him sit for 5 minutes. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? We are adjourned until the 28th, and by the way, don't forget the
You.
retreat
Yes, I was gonna
at
ask.
Thunderbird Lane is next Monday night,
I'm looking for
5:30.
Greg's in charge of the icebreaker.
Oh, next
Yes.
week.
And those are, you don't want to miss that. Okay.
Are they both-
Holy cow, I can go home and watch some TV. Yeah. Okay, if you guys are buying tickets at the ad building, you gotta buy from my kids, not from those random hoodlums. I don't know either.
It was like my living room with the kids.
We're being efficient.
This weekend. No television.
Also good.
Oh my God.
That was a.
And you live to tell.
Slit my wrist.
Until I found out the hotspot downstairs in the basement.
All right.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, sir.